Mary Moorhead became my best friend the day I arrived at Maroon Bells School for Girls in Aspen, Colorado last September. Normally, Mom would have driven me, but she got into a fight with her most recent ex-husband, George. The night before, he ended up taking a Subaru. I thought that after the divorce he would be out of the picture, but what do I know about relationships? So instead, it had taken me 6 hours and 2 bus transfers to get there from Denver, and then 10 minutes to lug my 3 overstuffed duffel bags up 2 flights of stairs and across the wood-linked hallway floors to my assigned dorm in Crawford Hall. The door was open when I got there. A girl stood with her back to me in front of a floor-to-ceiling framed photograph of the Venus de Milo. You know, the ancient Greek statue that's so famous? The half-naked one with no arms and big boobs? The framed photograph was at least 8 feet tall, was stark. It only revealed the statue against a white background. The frame leaned against the wall, directly opposite of the doorway. The girl had a bottle of Windex in one hand and paper towels in the other. At first I thought it was a black and white picture, but look. When you lean in really close, you get to see the color, the gray and green and brown streaks and shadows in the marble. There's a pattern to them. My boyfriend Stefan showed me that. You know, it really should be called the Aphrodite of Milos, not the Venus de Milo. They're pretty much the same person. I mean, they're pretty much the same goddess. Goddess of love. Most people call her Venus like the Romans, but the Greeks call her Aphrodite, and this is a Greek statue, so I'm just saying, her name should be Aphrodite of Milos. It's the only print of this photograph in the world. My boyfriend gave it to me. I know. I sound crazy. I'm sorry. I just love this picture. And you must be Peggy Nakamura. I'm Mary. Welcome to MBSG. A really sparkly bracelet peeked out of her v-neck. I wondered if they were real diamonds in it. Probably. This was Aspen. Hi. Nice to meet you. Pumas. Clydes? I love them. Thanks. They're old, but don't worry. Venus, Aphrodite is on your side. And I'm your friend too. It was a soft soul smile, the real kind. My granny used to tell me about the different kinds of smiles. Margaret, she said, they say the eyes are the window to the soul, but it is the smile that tells the truth. I hadn't heard her voice since she died last spring, but I could remember exactly the slow, deliberate way she talked. A soul smile cannot be faked. Right away I trusted Mary's smile, but it's what she said next that made me decide to like her. Wanna get a latte? That was 5 months ago, the first day of my junior year at Maroon Bells School for Girls in Aspen, Colorado. The Subaru was back, so Mom drove me to my second semester. It was about 10 when Mom dropped me off after the long drive from Denver, which, if you're doing the math, started at about 6:30 this morning. After spending the entire drive asleep in the backseat, dreaming about the breakfast we never stopped for, I heard her ask if I wanted her to drop me off at the Timberline coffee shop on Hunter Street, which everyone around here calls the Timberlake, which says a lot about the people around here. I said sure. I'd get a croissant and a coffee and then walk the half-mile to campus. It was sunny out, it was warm enough. She pulled over in front of the Timberlake and kissed me on the cheek. Bye, she said. We didn't make a big deal about saying goodbye because I don't think she wanted to. Good winter break, baking and eating and watching 2 movies a day from Netflix. I guess it was easier for her to pretend she was just dropping me off at the coffee shop down the street for a few minutes instead of at school 3 hours away for a whole semester. A gust of frozen wind caught my scarf, which I grabbed in midair just as it flew off my neck. Maybe it wasn't so warm. My mom called days like these fake-out days. Blazingly hot and sunny in the car, but breathlessly frigid as soon as you open the door. Thanks, Penny. It's Peggy. Oh. Whatever. Can you close the door? She was glare smiling at me. Granny taught me that one too. A baby whose head was exposed above a sagging cashmere blanket wrapped around her torso wriggled in her arms. It's freezing out there. My little Paulette is getting cold. She wrapped the blanket around herself, which left the baby's feet uncovered. I realized she was nursing. Oh, sure. Here. The woman didn't say thank you. I eyed the pastry case, making sure there was, of course, a plain croissant. I like my croissants plain. No chocolate, no Asiago cheese and asparagus, no rosemary. Just a plain, gushy, buttery, soft croissant, barely warm with a bit of extra butter on top. What can I say? I'm a butter freak. No one understood this in Aspen. It's funny, even though Denver was only 3 hours away, 2 3/4 if I'm driving, I never came here when I was a kid. Ever. I didn't know anyone who did. Aspen was a totally different world. A fancy place for out-of-staters, celebrities, and billionaires. It was for people who had nothing to do with the laid-back Colorado I knew. Part of me was glad I didn't fit in. Latte, Andrea, she said to the barista. Her name was Amber, which Sylvia knew. Chignon. Now there's a word I never knew until I got to Aspen. Or needed. A big one. You had to hand it to Sylvia. She was committed to being Sylvia. And that meant wearing black. In a sea of blonde shearling and gray chinchilla and white quilted nylon that is the Timberlake, that is any coffee shop in Aspen, Sylvia was the only one in black. Hair included. Knee-high boots, thick black tights, thick length wrap coat, bulky cashmere scarf, driving gloves, mascara, all black, deep black, sleek against her icy white skin. The only things that were not black or white were her lips, thickly coated in the richest, shiniest ruby red lipstick. Despite how intimidating the package may seem, Sylvia was somehow harmless. An insult from Sylvia almost didn't count because it was never about you. It was about Sylvia being Sylvia. Amber started packing espresso for Sylvia's latte. I watched Sylvia's eyes lock in and narrow onto the back of Amber's head. Sylvia knew that Amber always had fresh gossip. She made lattes for everyone. Everyone. And she made sure everyone got a shot of gossip with their coffee. So, was winter break boring or what? Are you kidding? Oh? It was insane. Mariah Carey was in here 3 times. I want to hate her, but I can't. It would be too easy. I mean, even the girls' parkas show cleavage. That's serious commitment. You could tell she was annoyed that there weren't any paparazzi the first time she was in. Kate Hudson was here with Ryder. You know, her son. He looks kinda like a girl with all that long hair. That's what I want. A boy who looks like a girl. It would be perfect. Amber carefully poured Sylvia's latte, then grabbed for a plastic zip top, but the pile of zip tops were all stuck. She dug her pink polished fingernail into the one on top, trying to separate them, but the stack slipped out of her grasp and fell, sending a dozen zip tops sliding across the counter. Yet Amber was still trying to separate the 2 at the top. It was so awkward that I just wanted to reach over and push her out of the way and do it myself. Actually, I want 2 girl boys. That would be perfect. She was here with some guy. At first I thought it was Lance Armstrong, but he was fatter. Maybe it was her brother Oliver, but I couldn't really recognize him anyway. Oh, and Fergie was supposedly here too, but I wasn't working that day. No talk. Anyway, who else was here? Let's see, Heidi Klum, Maria Sharapova. Oh, that guy from Top Chef. Oh, and you probably heard about the whole thing with Stephen Haynes Durant. You know him? His father owns the Durant Hotel up the street. Anyways, he was supposed to be going out with Mary Moorhead, right? Perfect couple, right? Richest guy in Aspen and richest girl at Maroon Bells. Anyway, he's been hooking up with some girl who works at Maud. I froze. Did I really just hear what I just heard? Stephen Haynes? Mary's boyfriend? My roommate's boyfriend? No effing way. It couldn't be. Amber got it wrong. Stephen was in love with Mary. He'd never fool around on her. Would he? Yeah, she works over at Maud. Do you know Maud? That jeans shop over on Cooper? I don't shop there. Never have. I think her name is like Topaz or something. Like some kind of jewelry, you know, like sapphire or maybe diamond. Or Amber. No, Amber said, not getting the joke. What was it? Ruby? Pearl? Oh yes, Crystal. It was Crystal. Can you believe it? Stephen Haynes with some girl down in the valley? Half of me wanted to turn around and get out of there. Like if I didn't hear it, I didn't know about it. But that wouldn't be true. Thanks to Mary, I was friends with Stephen. He was the kind of guy I never thought actually existed. You wanted to hated him, but you couldn't. Model gorgeous with green-gray eyes, absurdly rich, but he was also funny, smart, and even heroic. His jeans, faded to that fuzzy line halfway between midnight and indigo, weren't adorned with stitching or logos, just plain, worn, perfect. Stephen was the youngest and blondest member of the Aspen Ski Patrol, a role he seemed born for. After all, his family had been living and skiing in Aspen for like 3 generations or something. They owned the oldest and most expensive hotel in town, the Durant, a national historic landmark. In fact, he and Mary met when she broke her collarbone skiing, and he rescued her. That's the heroic part. And Mary, the female version of Stephen, honey blonde and rich and perfect and wholesome, totally hateable if she wasn't so cool. She was a New York City kind of girl, Upper East Sider from the kind of old money family that you don't read about in the gossip columns. The kind of family so drenched with money, it makes those gossip girly socialites seem desperate and crass. There was nothing flashy about her, but all her sweaters were cashmere, all her equestrian boots were custom made. Unlike Sylvia, Mary never made the mistake of believing that anyone else cared about her wealth, and she never talked about it. They really were the perfect couple. Half of me knew for sure. Stephen would never cheat on Mary. This couldn't be true. But the other half of me knew I had to keep listening to Amber. I really needed that croissant now. It would help me think. Down Valley. She was trying so hard to act bored. I know! Glenwood Springs, I think. Glenwood what? Where's that? Sylvia knew exactly where Glenwood Springs was. It was a half an hour away and by far the biggest town around here. Unless you flew out of Aspen by jet, it was just about impossible to leave the valley without going through Glenwood Springs. Glenwood Springs was too working class for someone like Sylvia, but since it's not politically correct to be a snob about it, she just pretended she never heard about it. Which, in a way, was even worse. Well, it's not here, but that didn't stop the Prince of Aspen from hooking up with her. He's a prince, all right. I know. Guys are all the same. You can't trust any of them, not even the perfect ones. They always end up cheating sooner or later. We'd be better off without them all. I was watching Tyra the other day, and she was interviewing this woman who had decided to go celibate. But she seemed so miserable, and it was weird because right after that there was an episode of Snapped. Do you know Snapped? It's a show about women who can't take it anymore and kill their husbands. Anyway, the woman on Tyra and the woman on Snapped seemed so similar. Like they had something in common. It was weird. Poor Mary. She's so nice and pretty. She's going to be devastated if she finds out. Devastated. I know. I need a $10 gift card. $14.25. And what is that lipstick you have on? It's so red. Jungle red. It's from Dubai. You can't get it here.